People would call my parents and they'd ask, like, what's wrong with your family and why is everyone getting it? And like, who's next? Hinting like, who's next? The first thing for any woman in breast cancer treatment is, the physical changes in your body. Forgetting your vanity and then reconstructing your body and your life is the biggest challenge. I think a major contributor in my journey was being positive, having overcome my fear in the initial few months. I think the more positive I was, the better my health became. This is my family, my husband Anshuman and my daughter Anika. Anika was born here. So I live in Bangalore with my husband and my daughter. We have a tiny little house and we've made it home. The three of us live here.
She's extremely caring and at the same time, she's very particular about a few things. So she brings up Anika as if she's an adult. She gives her the power of autonomy and the choice, right? Which really helps shaping our daughter's character. So that's something I admire about her.
So I really like that sometimes in the weekends she bakes desserts for me. She helps me with my projects and my school homework. And sometimes on the weekends we go shopping together. That's also fun. And yeah.
We were a healthy and happy family, and I was enjoying my motherhood. In December 2018, I did a breast self-exam and then I found a lump. I went to my gynecologist and she did an examination and she felt it was benign and she said, I don't think it needs to be pursued further, but if you are really worried about it, you could probably do a sonomammogram, which is like an ultrasound for the breast area. We had the sonomammogram and it appeared benign even in the test, and my doctor asked me to meet a general surgeon and get a lumpectomy done, and after which they would do a biopsy just to rule it because it's a protocol. So I agreed to that. I called my parents over, we had that surgery.
So we were waiting for the result. It was taking a bit longer than expected. There was definitely a lot of anxiety building up. We called the hospital a couple of times and they were taking their time to do their due diligence on the report.
I was supposed to get the report back in 5 to 6 days and it was already 8 to 9 days and I hadn't gotten my report. Even if you exclude the weekends, it was still a long time. So I kept calling up the lab and I kept asking them, could you please send my report? And they would keep telling me it's being reviewed. So it was a Saturday, 2nd of February 2019. 9:30 a.m. I give them a call and say, oh no, your report is already there. I think it's been reviewed, it's ready. Can you come and collect? I said, no, I don't want to come. Can you please email it? Said, but I think you should see a doctor when you see that report. I knew something is very wrong. Things are not going my way. It's going to be a surprise. I said, yes, please send it over email and I'll make an appointment to see the doctor. And then they delivered it. And I was sitting at my desk on my laptop and then I opened it. And everything, it was all a lot of jargon. But the only thing I could read and understand was carcinoma. I sat down and I was numb for a few minutes. I didn't know what to say, what to do. And my husband came into the room. He sat down behind me. He read it over my shoulder and complete silence. Both of us were silent. My mom comes in, she asks, what is it? I've been calling you, not responding. And then we told her. And she was the first one to actually react. She started crying. Both of us were too numb to react.
So when we got the results, everyone was definitely shattered. I think some of us were trying to contain our level of shock, just to provide that bit of strength to the rest of us. But her parents, my in-laws, were definitely shocked and extremely sad. But at the same time, we had to stay strong, and I think she was the center of that strength.
When I was diagnosed, the only thing in my mind was that my daughter's too young to be facing this, and she needs a mother figure and a father figure with her. So my only prayer was that I should recover for so long, I should be healthy for so long that I'm able to give her a good life. So we spent the weekend writing down our questions, because we wanted that we have these 7 to 8 to 10 minutes which we get in a consultation, and that we wanted to make the maximum. So once we met the doctor, he read the report and said some further tests are required, we'll do surgery, and this is the treatment protocol. And at the end he asked, hey, what are your questions? So we gave him that printout. First question was, am I going to die? What does it mean? How bad is it? Is it going to spread? I have a girl child. Is she going to get it too? And is it genetic? Then the family history came up, because my family had a history of cancers. Once I met my oncologist, all those queries were answered, and he directed me to a journal. He said, whatever you want to know about breast cancer, especially your form of cancer, you read through this, and I'll also connect you to my patients. Speak to them about their perspective on what it feels like. I'll tell you the protocol of what treatment we'll do. Then you will lose that fear of the unknown, but then you should also hear stories. And those stories, because they came out, I got that belief in myself. Like, if they can do it, I can do it too.
When she went into surgery, there was definitely a fear of the unknown. This was going to be a surgery like a few hours and under general anesthesia. And this was a high-risk surgery. So there was a lot of apprehension from the time she went into the operation theatre to the time she came back. It was easily upwards of 6 hours. After coming back home, she was definitely in a lot of pain. She's usually a person who doesn't get that bothered with pain. She has a very high pain threshold, I would say. But even with that, it was very evident that there was pain, and when the painkillers when the effect of the painkillers went down, you could actually see, a lot of pain, as well as just tiredness, right? Just exhaustion from the whole hospital routine, and then you got to carry out that routine at home as well. You need to ensure a number of safety precautions. You can't sleep on one side, right? And so it just kind of ended up making it very tiring for her. And Anika, our daughter, wanted to, play with her because she's seeing her after like 10 days. She wanted to get closer. She wanted to spend some time.
It made me feel like something is not okay, and she might be sick or something. That's why she has lost her hair.
Wow. My child was just 3.5. She was very curious and very active, and she had no inkling of what was going on. So it was extremely difficult to take care of her and satisfy her curiosity as to what was really happening in the household. We called up my parents over. We asked them to stay for a long period so that they could take care of her, so I could apply myself to the treatment. So she bonded with them, and she became very close to them. They used to take care of her, but I would take care of myself and go through the treatment, because I had to travel frequently during and post surgery. I had to stay in the hospital. So she stayed with my parents. She never stayed without me. There was never a single night where she'd slept without me. It was a big challenge to make her actually sleep at night. She would cry herself to sleep. So I think at those times, because of my mother's comforting presence, she was able to cope up. people would call my parents and they'd ask like, what's wrong with your family and why is everyone getting it? And like, who's next? Hinting like, who's next?
I think victim shaming was definitely there, right? Some people were insensitive, I would say. That definitely impacted Swati more mentally.
That's torturous. My father was 70 plus years. I think he was about 74. My mom was 67 when I was diagnosed. And that's not the age when you should be taking care of your children. The children should be taking care of you, right? They already had a big task of taking care of me, my daughter, taking care of my entire household. That whole responsibility at that age. And then people, shaming them. I remember one of my former classmates calling up and talking about her mother who was diagnosed. And she was like, my mom never did anything wrong. I can understand about you, but my mother never did anything wrong. Like, how did she ever get it?
She's quite strong-willed, I would say. She handled it quite well, right? I don't think if it was any of us, we could have handled it the way she did.
So, the first thing for any woman in breast cancer treatment is, the physical changes in your body. So the moment you lose your looks, your body undergoes changes, it starts playing with your mind. So first thing is, it's not just the physical part, mentally also. It's a big challenge, to learn to accept the changes in your body. But physically, I was weak. I had stitches, I had tubes in my body after the surgery. Once the tubes were removed, I got an infection. It's very difficult because it's an open surgery, it's not a laparoscopic surgery. So a lot of 40% of my breast tissue was removed and it was also reconstructed. So it was a massive surgery. And recovering from it within 15-20 days and then starting the chemotherapy. So your body is already weak and chemotherapy breaks you physically as well as mentally. You're nauseated, you're weak, you start losing hair. I had no hair on my body. I had no eyelashes, no eyebrows, nothing. The head hair is just one of the things. So, forgetting your vanity and then reconstructing your body and your life is the biggest challenge. And that is something I really suffered. So initially I was really, really heartbroken. I had suicidal thoughts. But my doctor really guided me through it by telling me this is the worst phase. After this, it only gets better. And my family support, my husband and my daughter, all constantly troubling me, kept me distracted actually. If I didn't have her around, it would have been an even bigger challenge because I would be moping over myself. So I was distracted, I was well supported. That helped me pull through. My family is extremely strong-willed that way. That they, threw their hat in the ring that, we are all pitching in. And that is something that really helped me.
I remember that she used to bake many healthy cakes, cookies. So when she got better, I felt very happy.
So my treatment started in February with the cancer surgery and it ended in March 2020 when I completed my targeted therapy. I was lucky to find a doctor who was very logical, who laid it out really well for me. There was nothing unknown. He laid out the protocol, his team was supportive, and the way they nursed me back to health, I think it was really, I have immense gratitude for them. I think a major contributor in my journey was being positive, having overcome my fear in the initial few months. I think the more positive I was, the better my health became. Because of my resilience and my story, my doctor connects me to the patients like myself of the same risk profile and age profile. And I, like a survivor body, speak to them, help them overcome their fears. Because the initial phase is either denial or anger or then why me. So, and I overcame that the hard way and I came out victorious. So I think I have a lot to contribute in that, and I speak to those people, I tell them how it was for me and it gets better. And you're not alone. The most important thing is you're not alone. See, the only wish I had once I was diagnosed, and I still have, is to see my daughter as a good person, grown up. And I don't want to live so long that I interfere in her life, but at least till she's 18, give her a good education, make her a good person.